You are not going anywhere. My whole family is coming over for dinner in an hour. Quick, clean everything up, fry the steaks, make the salad, and get dessert ready for 15 people. My daughter-in-law, Harper, snatched the car keys from my hands with such force that I felt the metal scrape against my palm. She ran toward the front gate and locked it from the outside. The sound of the deadbolt sliding home felt like a prison sentence. I stood paralyzed in the middle of my own living room, wearing my pearl gray dress, my makeup flawless, my documents in hand. Harper, wait, I have a meeting in 45 minutes. It was the most important meeting of my life. I screamed until my throat burned, but she had already hopped into my car. I watched through the window as she started the engine and sped away. My cell phone had vanished too. I had left it on the dining table for just a second, and that snake had swiped it without me noticing. I was trapped, completely trapped. I looked at the wall clock, 2:15 in the afternoon. My meeting with Julian, the investor from New York, was at 3 o'clock sharp at the Grand Hotel. A contract worth $250,000, 3 years of international work. It was the chance to rebuild my career as an architect after 2 years in the dark. And this woman, this wretched woman who had entered my family like a lamb and turned into a wolf, had just destroyed it all. I ran to the kitchen. It was a disaster zone. Dirty dishes piled high in the sink, the stove covered in grease, the floor sticky. I opened the refrigerator and found exactly what Harper had left for me. A huge tray of raw steaks, unwashed lettuce, tomatoes, onions, and in the freezer, an unopened tub of generic ice cream. Nothing else, nothing prepared. Everything left to do. 15 people? In an hour? I whispered to myself, feeling the tears begin to sting my eyes. But I could not cry. Not yet. I had to get out of here. I had to get to that meeting. I ran to the main gate and shook it with all my strength. The metal did not budge a millimeter. Harper used the heavy-duty padlock, the one I had installed myself after the break-in at the building last year. What irony. My own security was now my prison. I tried screaming for help, but it was Tuesday afternoon, and all my neighbors were at work. The building was silent. Absolute silence. The only sound was my ragged breathing and the ticking of that damn clock mocking me. I ran back to the living room. I looked for the landline. I had canceled it 6 months ago to save money. Since becoming a widow, every penny counted. My husband died 2 years ago and left me with debts I was still paying off. This contract with Julian was my salvation. It was my way of becoming someone again, of feeling alive again. And Harper knew it. That witch knew it perfectly well. I remembered our conversation from last night. I was in the kitchen of her house. I had gone to have dinner with my son, Liam. I told them excitedly about today's meeting. Julian is coming from New York specifically to meet me. He saw my portfolio at an international conference. He wants me to design a residential complex in Miami. It is the opportunity of a lifetime. Harper had looked at me with those dark eyes and smiled. That smile that never reached her eyes. That is wonderful, Eleanor. You deserve it so much. Liar. Venomous snake. Now I understood everything. She planned this. She knew exactly what to do to ruin me. I looked at the clock again. 2:25. 35 minutes to the meeting. The hotel was 20 minutes away by car, 40 by public transit if I was lucky. I had no phone to call a cab. I had no way to contact Julian. I had no way to warn him that I would be late. I felt the walls closing in on me. My breathing accelerated. Panic. Pure panic coursing through my veins like poison. No. Eleanor, do not fall apart. Think. Think. I forced myself to walk toward the window facing the backyard. 3rd floor. Impossible to jump without breaking every bone in my body. The front window faced the street, but there were security bars. I was trapped like an animal in a cage. Then I heard the apartment door open. My heart leaped. "Help, help me!" I screamed, running toward the entrance. It was Liam, my son. My only son. He stumbled in, his suit wrinkled, eyes red with fatigue, his tie loose. He worked 12 hours a day at that corporate firm that was slowly killing him. "Mom? What is wrong? Why are you screaming?" He looked at me, confused. I grabbed his arms in desperation. "Liam, thank God you are here. Your wife locked me in. She took my car keys and my phone. I have an urgent meeting in 30 minutes. I need you to drive me right now. It is a contract for $250,000. If I do not get there, I lose everything." The words came out rushed, desperate. Liam blinked slowly. Too slowly. "Mom, Harper sent me a text. She said her whole family was coming for dinner. She needs your help to get everything ready." His voice sounded automatic, like a robot repeating commands. "My help? Liam, she is holding me prisoner. She locked me in. Look." I dragged him to the gate and rattled it in front of him. "I cannot get out, and I have the most important meeting of my life right now." My son ran a hand down his face. I saw something in his eyes. Doubt. Confusion. But also fear. Fear of crossing his wife. "Mom, you know how Harper is. She gets upset if things do not go her way. Her family is very important to her. You can always reschedule your meeting, right? Julian will understand." I felt as if I had been slapped. "Reschedule? Liam, this man is coming from New York. His schedule is packed. This is my only chance." My voice broke. The tears finally won and began rolling down my cheeks, ruining the makeup that had taken me half an hour to apply. Liam took a step back. He hated seeing me cry. He always had, since he was a boy. "Mom, do not cry. Please. I do not know what to do. Harper said it was important. She is right. You can always help family. You are so good in the kitchen. And..." "No." I interrupted him with a scream that came from my soul. "No, Liam. This is not helping. This is abuse. Your wife manipulates me. She uses me. She uses you too. Do you not see it?" My son opened his mouth to respond, but then his phone rang. He looked at the screen. "Harper. Of course it was her." He answered immediately. "Yes, babe. Yes, I am with Mom. Yes, I know. She is a little upset, but..." Harper must have shouted something because Liam pulled the phone away from his ear. "Yes, honey, calm down. I will make sure she prepares everything. Yes, I love you." He hung up and looked at me with eyes I no longer recognized. The eyes of my little boy were gone. Now I only saw a scared, controlled, lost man. "Mom, please, just make the dinner. Harper is on her way with her family. They will be here soon." He collapsed onto the sofa and closed his eyes. He was exhausted, defeated, and I was alone. I looked at the clock. 2:38. 22 minutes to the meeting. It was already impossible to arrive on time. Even if I left this instant, I would be late. Julian would think I was irresponsible, that I did not value his time. I would lose the contract. I would lose everything. And Harper would have won. I stood there watching my son dozing on the sofa, exhausted, manipulated, blind to the reality of his marriage, and something inside me broke. It was not just rage. It was clarity, absolute clarity about how I had gotten here. It all started 3 years ago when Liam introduced me to Harper at that Italian restaurant. She was charming, sweet, attentive. "Eleanor, Liam has told me so much about you. It must be wonderful to have such a talented architect for a mother." I melted. What a fool I was. The first few months were perfect. Harper called me twice a week. She invited me for coffee. She asked for advice on decoration. I thought I finally had the daughter I never had. Then they got married. Small, intimate wedding. I paid for half because Liam had just changed jobs and was short on cash. $12,000 from my savings. "I will pay you back, Mom." "I promise," my son told me with tears in his eyes. He never did. Harper always found a reason. "Oh, we need new furniture, Eleanor. The car needs repairs. My mother is sick, and I need to send her money. Always something. Always an emergency. And I always caved because I did not want to look like the horrible mother-in-law from the soap operas. How stupid, how incredibly stupid I was. Then came the apartment. They needed to move to a bigger one. "Mom, could you co-sign for us? With your credit history, it would be easier." Liam asked me with that boyish face that always worked on me. I co-signed. Of course I co-signed. I am his mother. 3 months later, they stopped paying. I had to cover 2 months of rent so they would not ruin my credit. $4,800 that I never saw again. When I confronted them, Harper cried. Oh, Eleanor, forgive me. Liam had unexpected medical expenses. We are so bad at managing money. But we love you so much. And I hugged her. I consoled her. The woman who was robbing me. But the money was just the beginning. The worst came later. Harper started demanding my time. Eleanor, can you watch our dog this weekend? We are going to the beach. Eleanor, I need you to go to the doctor with me. Liam is working. Eleanor, come clean. We have visitors and the house is a mess. At first I thought it was normal, that this was what having close family was like. But then I realized it was never a request, it was an order. And if I refused, Harper got upset. She stopped talking to me. She told Liam that I did not love them, that I was a selfish mother-in-law, and Liam always believed her. The pattern repeated over and over. Every time I had something important, something for me, Harper found a way to sabotage it. When I was invited to speak at a conference in San Francisco last year, Harper invented a family emergency. Eleanor, my grandmother is doing very poorly. I need you to take care of Liam. He is very stressed. I canceled my trip. The grandmother was not doing poorly. She was perfectly fine. When I met Arthur, a widowed architect my age who invited me to dinner, Harper organized a family dinner that same day. You cannot miss it, Eleanor. It is my mother's birthday. It would be a terrible offense. I canceled the date. Arthur never called back. Her mother's birthday was 2 weeks later. And now this. This was her masterpiece. Her final blow. She knew this meeting with Julian was my lifeline. I told her with such enthusiasm a week ago. I showed her the preliminary blueprints. I explained that this contract would pull me out of the financial ruin I had been drowning in since my husband died. How exciting, Eleanor. You must be so nervous. That is a lot of money, right? $250,000. I hope everything goes well and Julian does not change his mind. Her words sounded sweet, but her eyes shone with malice. I should have seen it coming. I should have protected myself. But I was always too trusting. Too foolish. I looked at the clock again. 2:43. 17 minutes. My career was dying with every second that passed. Liam snored softly on the sofa, oblivious to my agony. Liam, please, I tried one more time, shaking him by the shoulder. Son, wake up. I need you to understand what is happening. He opened his eyes slowly. What, Mom? Your wife is destroying me, today, right now, and you are letting it happen. My voice trembled, but I tried to keep it steady. Liam sat up with difficulty. Mom, you are exaggerating. Harper just needs help with her family's dinner. You have always been so generous. Why are you refusing now? Why am I refusing now? Because I have a meeting worth $250,000. Because this is my life, my career, my future. The words came out like explosions. Liam rubbed his eyes. But Mom, it is just a meeting. You can talk to Julian tomorrow. I am sure he will understand. No, Liam. Men like Julian do not wait. They have tight schedules. Other architects waiting. If I am not there today, at 3 o'clock, I lose everything. You do not understand. My son looked at me with a confused expression, almost annoyed. You know what, Mom? Sometimes I think you care more about your job than your family. Harper is right. You are always thinking about yourself. Those words went through me like knives. Thinking about myself? I have given you everything, Liam. I paid for your education. I paid for your wedding. I co-signed your apartment. I have canceled my plans 1,000 times for you too. And the only time I need something, you accuse me of being selfish. The tears rolled freely now. I did not care. Liam looked away. Harper says you always throw what you have done for us in our faces, that you make us feel indebted. Why are you indebted? You owe me almost $20,000, and I am not talking about money, Liam. I am talking about respect, about dignity. Your wife treats me like her servant and you allow it. Liam stood up abruptly. I am not going to listen to this. I am not going to let you insult my wife. His voice rose in volume. He had never spoken to me like that. Never. Insult her? I am telling the truth. Look at me, Liam. Look closely. I am locked in my own house, a prisoner. Does this seem normal to you? I pointed at the locked gate. My son followed my finger with his gaze. I saw something in his face, a flicker of doubt, of guilt. But then he shook his head. Harper just wants you to help. Do not be dramatic, Mom. And there I saw it with total clarity. My son was lost. Completely lost in that woman's claws. Liam's phone rang again. Harper again. He answered, walking away from me. Hi, babe. Yes, it is fine. She is preparing everything. Do not worry. He was lying. Lying to protect her and to avoid conflict. Did you buy the wine? Perfect. What time are you arriving? Ah, in 30 minutes. Understood. I will stay here to supervise. I love you. He hung up and looked at me. Harper and her family will be here in half an hour. You had better start cooking, Mom. I am hungry anyway. He sat back down on the sofa and turned on the television as if nothing had happened, as if he had not just destroyed his own mother. I looked at the clock. 2:50. 10 minutes to the meeting. There was no hope left. Julian would be waiting for me. He would check his watch. 5 minutes. 10 minutes. 15. Then he would leave. He would call another architect. Someone professional. Someone reliable. Someone who was not me. 3 years of preparation. 6 months of negotiations. All lost. Because of Harper. Because of my daughter-in-law, who hated me for no reason. Or maybe with reason. Maybe I was the fool who let herself be used so much that now she was invisible. Disposable. Nothing. I walked to the kitchen like a zombie. My legs moved on their own. I turned on the water. I washed the lettuce mechanically. Tears fell onto the green leaves. I did not care. Nothing mattered anymore. My hands shook as I washed the tomatoes under the cold water. Every second that passed was another nail in the coffin of my career. 2:55. 5 minutes to 3. Julian would be entering the hotel lobby right now, checking his phone, waiting for me. And I was here, in my kitchen, cooking dinner for the family of the woman who hated me. I grabbed a knife and started chopping the onions. The tears were not just from the onions anymore. They were for everything. For every year I spent building my career. For every sacrifice I made. For every time I chose my family over myself. And now I was paying the price for my own kindness. I heard Liam change the channel on the TV. Yes, of course. The world could be collapsing and my son would be watching football. Do you need help, Mom? He asked without looking away from the screen. He did not even turn to look at me. No, I replied with a flat voice. You have done enough. He did not catch the sarcasm. Or he did not want to catch it. I took the tray of steaks out of the refrigerator. The meat was cold, hard, unseasoned. I would have to work fast to get it ready. I looked for salt, pepper, garlic. My mind worked on autopilot while my heart broke into pieces. 3 o'clock. At this precise instant, Julian would be sitting on some elegant sofa in the lobby, looking toward the entrance, waiting to see a professional architect appear. But I would not arrive. I would never arrive. I turned on the stove. The blue flames jumped violently. I placed the biggest skillet I had on the burner. I poured oil. The golden liquid began to heat up, to crackle. I seasoned the steaks with mechanical hands. Salt, pepper, garlic powder. The movements were automatic after 63 years of cooking. But every movement hurt. Every action was a surrender, a defeat. Harper had won. She had beaten me completely. And the worst part was that my own son had chosen her side. The oil began to smoke. I placed the first steak in the pan. The sizzling sound filled the kitchen, a sound that usually comforted me. Today, it only reminded me of my prison. Smells good, Mom, Liam shouted from the living room. I did not answer. I had no words. My cell phone was somewhere with Harper. I could not call Julian. I could not explain. I could not apologize. I would simply vanish from his radar. Another unreliable architect. Another broken promise. I flipped the steak. The cooked side had perfect grill marks from the pan. Golden. Perfect. Ironic how I could make everything perfect in the kitchen, but I could not defend my own life. I put more meat in the pan. The oil splattered. A drop burned my hand. I did not even react. The physical pain was nothing compared to the pain in my chest. 3:10. Julian would have waited 10 minutes. Maybe he checked his email. Maybe he tried to call me. But my number was with Harper. Unreachable. Professionally, I had just committed suicide. No serious investor would work with someone who pulls a no-show without even a notice. My reputation, the little that remained of it after 2 years of widowhood and financial struggles, had just evaporated. I finished frying all the steaks. 15 pieces of perfectly cooked meat. I placed them on a large platter. Then I moved to the salad. I chopped tomatoes, onions, cucumbers I found hidden in the vegetable drawer. I made a simple dressing with olive oil, vinegar, salt, and oregano. Everything mechanical, everything empty. "Is it almost ready?" Liam asked, now standing in the kitchen doorway. He had his hands in his pockets. He looked uncomfortable. "Good. He should be." "Almost," I replied without looking at him. "Mom, you are mad at me." His voice sounded like when he was a child and broke something valuable. Finally, I looked at him. Really looked at him. "Liam, I just lost a contract worth $250,000 because of your wife. What do you think?" My son shrank back. "I did not know it was that important. I told you. I screamed it at you. I begged you. But you chose to believe her instead of me. Instead of your own mother." Liam opened his mouth to respond, but at that moment we heard a car park outside. My heart stopped. It was Harper. It had to be her. With her whole family. They were coming to enjoy the dinner I had prepared, like a slave in my own house while my career died. I heard voices outside. Laughter. The sound of keys. But it was not the main gate. It was the apartment door. Someone had a key to the inner door. Of course, Harper had copies of all my keys. Another invasion of privacy I had allowed. "They are here," Liam murmured, smoothing his hair. He looked nervous. I stayed in the kitchen, my pearl gray dress now stained with oil and tomato juice. My makeup ruined. My dignity destroyed. I waited. I waited for the circus to enter. But what I heard was not Harper's voice. It was another woman's voice. Older. Authoritative. "Liam? Where is your mother?" The tone was severe. Liam stammered. "Margaret." She is in the kitchen. She is making the dinner Harper asked for." Margaret. The name resonated. Margaret was Harper's mother. A 65-year-old woman I had only seen in photos and once briefly at the wedding. Harper always found excuses for us not to meet. "We get along so well, better to keep them separate," she would say with that fake laugh. Now I understood why. I heard firm footsteps approaching the kitchen. Margaret appeared in the doorway. She was tall, thin, with completely white hair gathered in an elegant bun. She wore a cream-colored tailored suit. Her eyes were exactly like Harper's, but there was something different in them. Something harder, smarter. "Eleanor." She looked me up and down. I was standing there with a dish towel in my hands, hair disheveled, clothes ruined. "Yes," I replied with the little dignity I had left. Margaret walked fully into the kitchen. She closed the door behind her. That surprised me. "I need to talk to you. Alone." Her voice was not hostile. It was concerned. I leaned against the counter. I no longer had the strength to stand upright. "Say whatever you want. I already lost everything that mattered today anyway." Margaret pulled a cell phone out of her purse. "My cell phone." I recognized it immediately by the olive green case. "This is yours." I nodded, confused. "How do you have it?" Margaret sighed deeply. "Harper left her purse at my house this morning when she stopped by to pick up the dessert I made her. I was looking for my glasses and opened her bag by mistake. I found this phone. It seemed strange to me because Harper has her own. So I checked it." Her eyes darkened. I saw the messages between her and her friends, laughing at you, planning this, saying they would finally put you in your place, that they would teach you not to be so pretentious with your important meetings. The world stopped. Margaret had seen everything. "I saw the time of your meeting, 3 in the afternoon, with Julian Vance, the investor from New York. An architectural design contract." Margaret handed me my phone. "It is 3:15. Maybe you are still in time." I took the phone with trembling hands. I unlocked it. 32 missed calls, all from a New York number. Julian. He had called me 32 times. I opened the messages. "Eleanor. I am in the hotel lobby. Are you on your way?" "Eleanor. I hope you are okay. Let me know if you need to reschedule." "Eleanor. I am worried. Did something happen? Please answer." The last message was from 3 minutes ago. Eleanor, I understand an emergency may have come up. I will be in town until tomorrow afternoon. If you can meet me tomorrow morning, we can still talk about the project. Hope you are well. There was hope. There was still a small possibility. But I was locked in. The gate was still locked. I looked at Margaret. She watched me with an expression I could not decipher. The main gate, I said with an urgent voice. Harper locked it. I cannot get out. I need to get to the hotel. I need to explain to Julian what happened. Margaret reached into her purse again. She pulled out a set of keys. My car keys. And next to them, a key I recognized. The key to the gate padlock. Harper left this in her bag too. I think she was afraid someone would help you escape if she left the keys somewhere accessible. Margaret handed them to me. Go. Go right now. I will handle what is left here. I took the keys with hands that would not stop shaking. I could not believe what was happening. Margaret, the mother of my worst enemy, was saving me. Why? I whispered. Why are you helping me? Margaret looked me straight in the eyes, and I saw something there that broke my heart. Shame. Deep maternal shame. Because I raised a monster, Eleanor. And it is time she pays for it. Her voice broke slightly. I was like Harper when I was young. Manipulative. Controlling. I ruined my mother-in-law's life exactly like my daughter is ruining yours. And when my mother-in-law died alone and bitter, I swore that if I ever had a daughter, I would raise her differently. But I failed. Harper learned everything from me. And now I see in her the monster I used to be. Tears ran down Margaret's cheeks. Go. Save your career. I will fix this. I did not wait for more explanations. I ran toward the gate with the keys clenched in my fist. My clumsy fingers struggled with the lock. Once. Twice. Come on, come on, come on, I whispered frantically. Finally, the lock gave. I yanked it off the gate and pushed with all my strength. The heavy metal opened with a screech. Freedom. Fresh air hit my face. My car was parked right in front. I ran to it, opened the door, threw myself into the driver's seat. My hands sought the ignition. The engine roared. 3:18. I checked my phone again. The Grand Hotel was 20 minutes away if traffic was good. But it was 3 in the afternoon. Rush hour in the city. It could be 40 minutes. 50. It did not matter. I had to try. I slammed on the gas. The tires screeched against the pavement. I shot out of the parking spot like a bullet. I looked in the rearview mirror and saw Liam running out of the building. Mom, Mom, wait, he was shouting, waving his arms. I did not stop. I could not stop. For the first time in 3 years, I chose myself. I took the main avenue. Traffic was dense, cars everywhere. My hands gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. Please, please, I prayed over and over. I was not religious, but in that moment, I needed to believe someone in the universe was on my side. The traffic light in front of me turned red. I braked hard. I hit the steering wheel in frustration. 3:23. Every second was an eternity. I used the red light to quickly text Julian. Julian, forgive the delay. I had a serious family emergency. I am on my way to the hotel. I will arrive in 20 minutes. Please, wait for me. I need to explain everything. I hit send just as the light turned green. The car in front did not move. I honked. Nothing. I honked again. More insistent. Finally, it moved. I changed lanes. Accelerated. I squeezed between 2 cars with barely inches of space. Other drivers yelled at me. I did not care. I only had one goal. Arrive. Arrive before Julian left. Before he thought I was an irresponsible loser. Before my last chance evaporated. My phone vibrated. Julian had replied, Eleanor, hope everything is okay. I will wait for you in the lobby. Take your time and drive safe. Tears of relief rolled down my cheeks. I still had a chance. This man, this stranger from New York, was giving me a second chance that my own family had denied me. The traffic moved at a snail's pace. Every traffic light seemed to conspire against me. Red. 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 Come on! I screamed at nothing. Finally, I found an alternate route. Less traveled but with terrible potholes. I did not care. I accelerated. The car bounced with every hole. My documents went flying off the passenger seat and fell to the floor. I would pick them up later. 3:35, 17 minutes since I left. I was almost there. Then I saw the hotel. The Grand Hotel. Tall, elegant, imposing. It was 3 blocks away. But there was a problem. A protest. Hundreds of people were blocking the street with signs and shouting. No! 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 I hit the steering wheel again. I could not believe my bad luck. I tried to advance, but it was impossible. The crowd was impenetrable. I looked around desperately searching for another route. Nothing. All surrounding streets were blocked. Then I made a decision. I double-parked the car. I got out, grabbed my purse, locked it and ran. I ran like I had not run in 20 years. My heels struck the pavement. My stained dress flapped in the wind. People stared at me, probably thought I was crazy. And maybe I was. Crazy for believing I could still save this. I dodged protesters. "Excuse me, sorry, I need to get through," I shouted, pushing my way through the crowd. Someone shoved me. I almost fell. I held onto a lamppost, regained my balance and kept running. My lungs burned. My heart beat so hard I thought it would explode. But I did not stop. I could not stop. 1 more block. 2. 3. Finally, I reached the hotel entrance. The doorman looked at me with alarm. "Ma'am, are you okay?" I was panting so hard I could not speak. I just nodded and stumbled inside. The lobby was huge, sparkling marble, crystal chandeliers, extreme elegance, and I looked like a homeless person. My hair was a mess. My makeup streaked by tears and sweat. My dress stained with oil and sauce, but I did not care. I searched the room. Where was Julian? He had described his appearance by email. 50 years old, silver hair, dark gray suit. I scanned the lobby with desperate eyes. There, on a sofa near the reception, a man matching the description. He was looking at his phone. Next to him was a black leather portfolio. It had to be him. I walked over with shaking legs. "Julian." My voice came out hoarse, broken. The man looked up. He looked me up and down. I saw surprise in his eyes. Then concern. He stood up quickly. "Eleanor, is that you?" I nodded. I could no longer hold back the tears. I am so sorry. I had an emergency. My daughter-in-law locked me in. She took my phone and keys. I was preparing for my meeting with you for months, and she... The words came out jumbled. Senseless. Julian raised a hand gently. "Please, Eleanor. Sit down. Breathe." He guided me to the sofa. I collapsed onto the soft cushion. My whole body was shaking. Julian signaled a waiter. "Water, please. And a clean towel." He sat next to me, at a respectful distance. "Take your time. I am in no hurry." Those words, those simple words, broke me completely. I wept. I wept like I hadn't wept since my husband's funeral. All the years of abuse, of manipulation, of being invisible, of being used, came out in that cry. The waiter brought the water and the towel. Julian handed them to me. "Thank you," I whispered, wiping my face with the towel. I drank the water in big gulps. Slowly, I regained control. "I am sorry," I said finally with a steadier voice. "This is completely unprofessional. You came from New York, and I show up like this? Like what? Like a woman who just escaped a terrible situation." Julian interrupted with a soft voice. "And who still did everything possible to get here. That tells me more about your character than any perfect presentation." He looked at me with kind eyes. "Tell me what happened, not as architect to client, as human being to human being." And so I did. I told him everything. About Harper. About the lock-in. About Liam. About Margaret saving me. About the desperate run here. Julian listened without interrupting. When I finished, he sighed deeply. "My mother went through something similar with my sister. I understand perfectly what you are going through." He leaned forward. "Eleanor, I came to this city looking for a talented architect, but now I see I found something more valuable. A fighter. Someone who does not give up even when the world conspires against her." He opened his portfolio and pulled out documents. "This is the contract we talked about. Residential complex in Miami Beach. $250,000 for the complete design, 3 years of work. My heart stopped beating. But after hearing your story, I want to make a change. He took a pen and crossed out the number. He wrote a new one, $500,000. Because someone with your determination deserves double. And because I want to send a clear message. Women who fight abuse deserve to be rewarded, not punished. I stared at the number. $500,000. $500,000. My eyes filled with tears again, but this time they were different. They were tears of gratitude, of relief, of redemption. Julian, I do not know what to say. This is... My voice broke. He smiled warmly. Say you accept. Say we will work together to create something extraordinary. He extended his hand. I looked at it. That hand represented everything. My freedom, my future, my regained dignity. I took it firmly. I accept, and I promise you will not regret it. Julian shook my hand firmly. I already know I won't. I knew it the moment I saw you run into this lobby as if your life depended on it. Because it did. And you fought for it. We spent the next hour reviewing the project details. Julian pulled out preliminary blueprints, specifications, timelines. Despite my disastrous appearance and emotional state, my architectural mind activated immediately. We talked about sustainable design, natural light usage, integration with the Miami coastal landscape. For the first time in hours, I felt like myself. Like the professional I had been before, widowhood and Harper destroyed me. Julian took notes, nodded, smiled. Brilliant. This is exactly the vision I was looking for. He handed me a corporate card. This is my assistant's contact in New York. She will coordinate all the contract details. The formal papers will arrive in your email tomorrow morning. The first payment will be $150,000. It will be in your account within 2 weeks. Enough to start the preliminary work and... He paused meaningfully to establish my complete financial independence. I understood what he was not saying. Enough so, I never had to depend on anyone again. Enough so, Harper never had power over me again. Thank you, I whispered, not just for the contract, for believing in me when I stopped believing in myself. Julian closed his portfolio. Eleanor, I am 60 years old. I have worked with hundreds of architects in my career. And let me tell you something. Technical talent is common. The passion, the resilience, the inner fire I saw in you today, that is extraordinary. That is not taught. You are born with it, or it is forged in pain. And you clearly have it. We said goodbye in the lobby. Julian had a business dinner that night. See you in Miami in 3 weeks for the initial presentation to the investment committee, he said. And please, Eleanor, take care of yourself. Stay away from the toxic people in your life. Even if they are family. Especially if they are family. I nodded, his words resonating deeply within me. I watched him walk toward the elevators and stood there in the elegant lobby, with my ruined dress and my heart rebuilding itself piece by piece. I checked my phone, 4:50. Almost 2 hours since I escaped my prison, I had 16 missed calls. 12 from Liam. 4 from an unknown number that was probably Harper. I did not return any of them. I left the hotel. The afternoon sun hit my face. The protest had ended. The streets were clear. I walked to where I had left my car. I expected to find a ticket, but there was nothing. Just my little gray car waiting for me faithfully. I got in, closed the door, and sat in silence for a moment. Everything had changed. In one afternoon. In a few hours. My life had taken a 180-degree turn. I was no longer the submissive mother-in-law, the desperate widow, the invisible woman. I was Eleanor, architect, professional, survivor. I started the engine but did not drive immediately. I needed to think. I needed to process. Finally, I put the car in gear and drove. But not toward my apartment. Toward another place. I arrived at a small coffee shop I frequented years ago. Before life got complicated, I entered. The place smelled of fresh coffee and pastries. I sat at a corner table and ordered an Americano. When the waitress brought it, she looked at me with concern. "Are you okay, ma'am?" I must have looked terrible. "Yes," I replied with a genuine smile. "For the first time, in a long time. I am fine." The waitress looked confused and walked away. I drank my coffee slowly. I took out my phone and finally checked Liam's messages. "Mom, where are you? Mom, answer please. Margaret is saying horrible things to Harper. Mom." Harper is crying. She says you do not understand. "Mom, I need you to come back home. It is a disaster here." I smiled bitterly. A disaster. Of course there was a disaster. The disaster Harper created. The disaster she now had to face. I wrote a short reply. "Liam, I am fine. I got the contract. $500,000. We will talk tomorrow." I sent the message and turned off the phone. I did not want more interruptions. Not tonight. Tonight was mine. I finished my coffee and ordered another. Then I took a notebook out of my purse. I always carried one just in case. I started to draw. Preliminary sketches for the Miami project. Lines flowing on the paper. Curves. Angles. Spaces. My mind worked quickly. Ideas surged like fireworks. I had forgotten this feeling. The feeling of creating. Of dreaming. Of building worlds with just a pencil and paper. 2 hours passed. The coffee shop began to fill with the evening crowd. Couples, families, students. Life happening around me. And I was there, part of it, but also in my own world. Finally, I put away my notebook. It was 7 in the evening. Time to face reality. I paid my bill, left a generous tip and walked out. The night air was cool, refreshing. I drove back to my apartment slowly. I was in no rush. When I arrived, I saw the lights were on. Someone was inside. Probably Liam. I took a deep breath. I climbed the stairs. I opened my apartment door. The scene I found surprised me. My living room was spotless, clean, orderly. The kitchen shone, dishes washed, floor mopped, and sitting on my sofa was Margaret. "You are late," she said with a small smile. I stood in the entrance, confused. "What happened here?" Margaret stood up. "After you left, I had a very necessary conversation with my daughter." Well, conversation is a generous word. It was more of a confrontation. She walked toward me. Harper arrived with her whole family, expecting to find a prepared dinner, and you as her servant. Instead, she found me, furious. I told her exactly what I thought of her behavior, in front of everyone. Her uncles, her cousins, everyone. I humiliated her like she humiliated you. Margaret's eyes shone with satisfaction. Then I told everyone to leave, that there would be no dinner, that Harper had lied and manipulated, that she had locked up her mother-in-law to ruin her career. "And Liam?" I asked. Margaret sighed. "Your son was in shock. I think he finally saw the truth. He saw how Harper screamed, how she insulted me, her own mother, for defending myself. He saw the real monster behind the mask." She sat back on the sofa. Harper left furious. "Said you and I would pay for this." Liam stayed a while longer. He helped clean. Then he left too. He was quiet, thoughtful. "I think he has a lot to reflect on." I sat next to her. "Why did you do all this? You do not owe me anything." Margaret took my hand. "I owe you everything. Saving you is the only way to save myself, to redeem all the years I spent being like Harper. And besides," she paused, "you needed someone on your side. We all need that." We sat in silence for a moment. 2 older women, 2 survivors of their own battles. "I got the contract," I said finally. "Julian not only kept it, he doubled it. $500,000. Margaret squeezed my hand tight. "I knew you would do it. I saw it in your eyes when I gave you the keys. That determination, that strength." She stood up. "Well, it is late. I should go. But before," she took something out of her purse. It was a card. My number. Use it when you need to talk, when you need an ally, when you need to remember you are not alone. I took the card. "Thank you, Margaret, for everything." She nodded and headed for the door. Before leaving, she turned. "Eleanor, what comes next will not be easy. Harper will not give up. She will fight. She will manipulate. But you are stronger. Remember that always." After Margaret left, I remained alone in my clean, quiet apartment. For the first time in years, the silence did not feel like loneliness. It felt like peace. I walked to my room and looked in the mirror. My reflection stared back. The pearl gray dress ruined and stained, hair disheveled, makeup streaked. But my eyes shone differently. I no longer saw a victim. I saw a warrior. I took off the dress carefully. I observed it for a moment. This dress had witnessed my most important day, my prison, my escape, my triumph. I folded it carefully and put it away. Someday I would look at it and remember the day I reclaimed my life. I took a long, hot shower. The water washed away not just the day's dirt, but also years of humiliation. I cried under the water, but these tears were different. They were cathartic, liberating. When I got out, I felt renewed. I put on my most comfortable pajamas and made chamomile tea. I sat on my sofa, the same one where hours earlier Liam had chosen Harper over me, and opened my laptop. I had work to do. I checked my email. There was already a message from Julian's assistant. Dear Eleanor, attached is the preliminary contract for your review. Please confirm receipt. We look forward to working with you on this exciting project. I opened the PDF file. There it was. Black and white. $500,000. My name. My signature pending. It was real. Everything was real. I spent the next 2 hours reviewing every clause of the contract, staggered payments, delivery schedules, copyrights. Everything was perfectly structured, favorable, fair. Julian was a man of his word. I digitally signed the document and sent it back. Contract reviewed and accepted. Thank you for this opportunity. I will not let you down. I hit send and felt a huge weight lift off my shoulders. It was done. There was no turning back. My new life had officially begun. I closed the laptop and looked at my phone. Still off. I turned it on slowly. Messages immediately started flooding in. Liam, Harper, unknown numbers. I ignored all except one. A text from a number I did not recognize. Eleanor, it is Arthur, the architect you met last year. Margaret gave me your number. She told me what happened. I just wanted to say I admire your courage. If you ever need to talk to someone who understands the world of architecture and its challenges, I am here. Arthur, the widowed architect who had invited me to dinner a year ago, the date I canceled for Harper's fake family dinner. I smiled. Maybe the universe was giving me a second chance in more ways than one, I replied. Arthur, thank you for the message. Good to hear from you. And yes, I would love to talk. I have had an amazing and terrible day at the same time. Do you have time tomorrow for a coffee? The reply came almost immediately. Tomorrow at 10 at Café Voltaire. My treat. I want to hear everything. I felt butterflies in my stomach. It had been so long since I felt this. Excitement, anticipation, possibility. I went to sleep that night with a smile on my lips. Something I had not done in months. The next morning arrived with bright light streaming through my window. I woke up feeling rested for the first time in weeks. No nightmares, no anxiety, only calm. I got ready carefully for my coffee with Arthur. I chose a mint green dress, simple but elegant. I applied makeup softly. I styled my hair with care. When I looked in the mirror, I saw the woman I used to be. Before widowhood, before Harper, before becoming a shadow. I arrived at Café Voltaire 10 minutes early. Arthur was already there. He stood up when he saw me enter. He was just as I remembered him. Tall, perfectly cut gray hair, kind eyes behind thin-rimmed glasses. Eleanor, he said with a warm smile. You look radiant. We sat down and ordered coffee. Then, without planning it, I told him everything. About the lock-in, about Julian, about the contract, about Margaret, about my awakening. Arthur listened without interrupting, nodding occasionally, his eyes showing empathy and understanding. When I finished, he sighed deeply. Eleanor, what you lived through is abuse. Pure and simple. And I am infinitely glad you escaped. He took a sip of his coffee. I lived through something similar with my brother. After my wife died, he tried to control my life, my finances, my decisions. He said it was for my own good, that I was depressed and not thinking clearly. But really, he wanted my money, my property. It took me 2 years to realize and get away, so I understand. perfectly. We talked for hours about architecture, about loss, about rebuilding, about our current projects. Arthur was working on a museum in Santa Fe. I told him about the complex in Miami. His eyes lit up. $500,000. Eleanor, that is extraordinary. Julian clearly saw your talent. He saw more than my talent, I replied. He saw my fight and decided to reward it. Arthur nodded. The best clients are like that, those who value the person behind the work. He paid the bill despite my protests. You pay the next one, he said with a wink. Because there will be a next time. If you want, of course. I want to, I replied without hesitating. And I meant it. We walked together to the parking lot. Before saying goodbye, Arthur took my hand gently. Eleanor, I know you just got out of a difficult situation. I am in no hurry, but I want you to know I would like to get to know you better. No pressure, no expectations. Just two mature architects enjoying good company. My heart raced. I would like that too, Arthur. We said goodbye with a brief but meaningful hug. I drove home feeling something I had not felt in years. Hope. Real hope. That life could be good again. That love could exist again. That I could be happy again. When I arrived at my apartment, I found Liam waiting at the door. He looked terrible. Puffy eyes, wrinkled clothes, unshaven beard. Mom, he said when he saw me. His voice broke. I need to talk to you. I opened the door and we went in. Liam collapsed on the sofa, buried his face in his hands. I am sorry. I am so sorry. I do not know how I did not see it before. I sat in the armchair across from him. I said nothing, just waited. Margaret showed me the messages, he continued. The messages between Harper and her friends, laughing at you, planning to lock you up, calling you a stupid old woman, saying they would finally put you in your place. Tears rolled down his cheeks. And I left you there. I left you locked up. I chose Harper over you, over my own mother. His body shook with sobs. Part of me wanted to comfort him, to hug him like when he was a child. But another part, the stronger part, knew he needed to feel this pain. He needed to face what he had done. Liam, I said finally with a calm but firm voice, for 3 years I have been invisible to you. Every time Harper told you something about me, you believed her without question. Every time she needed help, you put her needs first. Every time she used me, you allowed it. Liam looked up. His red eyes broke my heart, but I did not yield. Yesterday, I lost almost $500,000 because of your wife. I almost lost my career, my dignity, my future, and you were in my living room watching football. My voice rose slightly. Do you have any idea what that did to me? Not just the confinement, but your indifference, your rejection, your decision to believe her instead of me. I know, Liam whispered. I know, and I hate myself for it. I do not need you to hate yourself, I replied. I need you to change. I need you to see that love is not control, that marriage is not slavery, that I, your mother, deserve respect. I stood up. Harper manipulated you, but you allowed that manipulation, and that is on you, not on her. Liam stood up too. I filed for divorce. This morning, I went to a lawyer. I cannot be with her anymore. Not after knowing who she really is. That is on you. That is your decision. But, Liam, divorce does not fix what is broken between us. That will require time, work, and you proving with actions, not just words, that you value me. I will do whatever is necessary, he said with desperation. Mom, I cannot lose you. You are all I have. No, I corrected him. I am not all you have. You have your life, your career, your future, and you need to learn to value the people who love you without using them, without taking them for granted. I walked to the door and opened it. Now I need you to leave. I have a lot of work, a contract for $500,000 to fulfill. I saw the surprise on his face. 500,000? I thought it was 250. It was, I replied with a small smile. But Julian doubled the amount after hearing my story. After seeing my determination, something you did not see. Liam stood in the doorway, processing my words. Mom, I am proud of you, he said finally. But his pride arrived too late. Pride is shown when it matters, Liam. Not after I have already won the battle alone. He nodded slowly. Defeated. Can I see you again? His voice sounded like a scared child. When you are ready to treat me like the professional and the woman I am, and not like your available servant. Yes, until then. I need space. Liam left without saying more. I watched him walk down the hall with slumped shoulders. I felt a pang of maternal pain, but ignored it. I had to be strong. For me. I closed the door and breathed deep. My apartment. My space. My sanctuary. Finally, it was just mine again. The following days were a whirlwind of productivity. I immersed myself completely in the Miami project. I worked from early until late, drawing blueprints, researching sustainable materials, contacting suppliers. My work table filled with sketches, texture samples, color palettes. It was as if years of repressed creativity had exploded suddenly. And I felt alive. More alive than I had felt in years. Julian called me regularly from New York. We reviewed progress, discussed ideas, refined concepts. Eleanor, this is exceptional, he told me over and over. The investment committee is impressed with your vision. Every call boosted my confidence, reminded me who I had been and who I could be again. One afternoon, while I was working on the main building elevations, my doorbell rang. I was not expecting anyone. I looked through the peephole and saw a woman I did not recognize immediately. Then I realized it was Harper. But she looked different. No makeup, disheveled hair, simple clothes, puffy eyes. I hesitated to open. Part of me wanted to ignore her, leave her outside like she left me. But another part needed this confrontation, needed to look her in the eye and tell her everything I never dared to say. I opened the door, but did not invite her in. What do you want, Harper? My voice was cold, controlled. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. Eleanor, I need to talk to you. Please, just 5 minutes. You had 3 years to talk to me as a human being, I replied. Why now? Harper wiped her tears with the back of her hand. Because I lost everything. My husband asked for a divorce. My mother won't speak to me. My family turned their backs on me. I lost my job because Margaret told my bosses what I did. Her voice broke. I am alone. Completely alone. And you. You won. You got your contract, your money, your perfect life, while I have nothing. I looked at her without a shred of pity. My perfect life? Harper, you tried to destroy my career. You locked me up like an animal. You stole my phone and my keys. You humiliated me. For years you used me, manipulated me, treated me like trash. And now you come crying because you are facing the consequences? I crossed my arms. You do not owe me an apology. You owe me 3 years of my life, and that you can never give back. I know, whispered Harper. I know, and I am sorry. I was jealous. Jealous of your education, of your career, of your elegance. I come from a poor family. I never had the opportunities you had. And when I saw that Liam adored you, that he always spoke of you with such pride, I felt inferior. So I decided to make you feel small, so I could feel big. Her words surprised me with their honesty. But they changed nothing. Harper, we all have our insecurities. We all have pain. But not all of us turn that pain into poison to destroy others. I took a step toward her. I also come from a humble family. I paid for college working nights. I faced sexism in a male-dominated profession. I lost my husband and almost lost my sanity. But never, ever, did I use my pain as an excuse to hurt others. Harper lowered her gaze. You are right, I have no excuse. I just came to tell you I am sorry, and that I understand if you hate me. I do not hate you, I replied with a firm voice. Hating you would require me to still give you power over my emotions. And you no longer have it. You mean nothing to me. You are simply a lesson learned. I saw how my words hit her harder than any insult. Being nothing was worse than being hated. Now leave, I continued, and do not come back. If Liam decides to give you another chance, that is his choice. But I am no longer part of your life, nor you of mine. Harper nodded slowly. She turned around and started walking away. Then she stopped. For what it is worth, I think you are the strongest woman I have ever met, and I regret having been too stupid to see it before." I did not answer. I simply closed the door. I stayed leaning against the door for a moment, processing. Harper had come looking for forgiveness, or maybe looking for me to save her from the consequences of her actions. But I was no longer anyone's savior. I was no longer the shoulder to cry on for people who hurt me. I was Eleanor, architect, professional, woman who saved herself. I went back to my work table. I had a project to finish. That night, Arthur invited me to dinner. A small but elegant restaurant in the historic district. We talked about everything and nothing. About Gothic and modern architecture. About trips we had taken. About books we loved. We did not mention Harper or my recent past. It was refreshing. It was liberating. It was as if I could simply be Eleanor again, without all the weight of the tragedy. After dinner, we walked through the cobblestone streets of downtown. The lights of the old buildings glowed softly. There were street musicians playing, couples walking hand in hand. Life, beauty, possibility. "Eleanor," Arthur said, stopping under an old lamppost. "I know we are just getting to know each other again, but I want you to know I enjoy every minute with you. You make me remember why I chose this profession, why I love creating beautiful spaces. You inspire me." His words filled me with warmth. "You inspire me too, Arthur. You remind me that life can be more than surviving. It can be living, really living." He took my hand gently. "Can we keep doing this? Dinners, conversations, walks. See where it takes us?" I squeezed his hand. "I would love that." The weeks kept passing. My project advanced brilliantly. The first payment of $150,000 arrived in my account just as Julian promised. I cried when I saw the number on my screen. It was not just dollars. It was freedom. It was security. It was proof that I was worth something. I paid all my debts, my husband's debts I had been carrying like chains. The debts from Liam's cosign that I never recovered. Everything, clean, free. Then I gave myself a luxury. A trip, just for me. A week in Sedona, Arizona. Alone. To think, to heal, to celebrate. I hiked through red rock canyons, visited art galleries, ate delicious food, read books on sunny terraces, and every day I felt more like myself. The Eleanor I had lost somewhere along the way. The Eleanor who was finally coming back. When I returned from Sedona, I had a message from Liam. "Mom, I have been in therapy. 3 weeks, 2 sessions a week. I am working on understanding how I allowed this to happen, how I failed as a son. I do not expect you to forgive me soon. I just want you to know I am trying to change. I love you." I read the message several times. There was sincerity in his words, but I also knew words were easy. Actions were what counted. I replied briefly, "I am glad you are seeking help. Keep working on yourself. When you are ready, we can talk." It was not forgiveness, but it was a door ajar. Margaret called me regularly. We had become real friends. "How is the project going?" she always asked. "And how is Arthur?" She laughed when I got nervous talking about him. "I like him for you," she told me once. "He is a good man, and you deserve a good man after everything you lived." She was right. Arthur was good, patient, respectful. We saw each other 2 or 3 times a week. Dinners, coffees, visits to art galleries, conversations that lasted hours. And slowly, very slowly, I felt my heart opening again. Not like before, not with the naivety of youth, but with the wisdom of someone who has suffered and survived, with the awareness of someone who knows her value and will never compromise it again. 1 month later, Julian invited me to fly to Miami for the presentation to the investment committee. It was the moment to show all my work. Arthur accompanied me to the airport. "You are going to shine," he told me before I went through security. I know. The flight to Miami was short, but my nerves made every minute feel eternal. I carried my portfolio with all the blueprints, digital renders, material samples. 3 months of intense work, condensed into a 40-minute presentation. My future depended on this, but this time was different. This time no one would lock me up. No one would steal my opportunity. I was in total control of my destiny. Julian met me at the airport with a huge smile. "Eleanor, great to see you. You look radiant." And it was true. I felt radiant. I wore a silver-gray tailored suit, elegant heels, hair perfectly styled. It was the professional version of myself I had forgotten existed. We went directly to the hotel where the presentation would take place. The conference room was full, 20 investors, men and women from different countries, all with serious expressions, calculators, all evaluating me. I took a deep breath. I connected my laptop to the projector. The lights dimmed, and I began. Good morning. My name is Eleanor Vance, and I am an architect with 35 years of experience in sustainable residential design. My voice sounded firm, clear, without a single tremor. Today, I will present to you a residential complex that will not only be lucrative, but also revolutionary in terms of environmental integration and user experience. The next 40 minutes were magical. I spoke with passion about every detail of the design, about how the buildings would capture the sea breeze to reduce air conditioning use, about the aesthetically integrated solar panels, about the green spaces that would create community. I showed photorealistic renders that had taken me weeks to perfect. The investors leaned forward, interested. Some took notes. Others nodded. When I finished, there was a 3-second silence that felt like an eternity. Then, applause. Genuine and enthusiastic applause. Julian stood up. Ladies and gentlemen, what did I tell you? Eleanor is exactly what this project needed. The questions began. About costs. About schedules. About permits. I answered each one with precision and confidence. I had done my homework. I knew every number, every regulation, every potential challenge. A French investor, a woman of about 50 with designer glasses, raised her hand. Mrs. Vance, your presentation was impeccable, but I have to ask, why should we trust this $50 million project to someone who has been out of the market for 2 years? The question was direct, almost aggressive. All eyes turned to me. This was the moment. I could invent a professional excuse, or I could tell the truth. I chose the truth. Madame Dubois, you are right. I was out of the market for 2 years. My husband died and left me in a difficult financial situation. Furthermore, I faced family abuse that almost destroyed my career. I saw surprise on several faces. But those 2 years taught me something that 33 years of success never taught me. Resilience. Determination. The ability to get up when everything seems lost. I took a step toward the audience. When I designed spaces, I designed for real people facing real challenges. Now I understand that on a level I never understood before. So yes, I was out of the market, but I came back stronger, wiser, and more committed than ever. The silence was absolute. Then, Madame Dubois smiled. That is exactly the answer I wanted to hear. Welcome back, Mrs. Vance. More applause. Julian winked at me from his seat. The meeting continued for another hour. They discussed financial details, formed committees, established timelines, and in the end, when everyone signed the final documents, the project was officially approved. $500,000 confirmed. 3 years of guaranteed work, and more importantly, my reputation restored. That night, Julian organized a celebration dinner at a restaurant facing the ocean. The sound of the waves was hypnotic. The stars shone above us. Eleanor, Julian said, raising his glass of wine, to your talent, your courage, and your triumph. May this be the beginning of a career even brighter than the last. We toasted. And in that moment, I felt I had finally closed a painful chapter and opened a new one full of possibilities. I returned home the next day feeling like I was floating. Arthur picked me up at the airport with a bouquet of flowers. Well, he asked with a smile. How did it go? Perfect, I replied. It was absolutely perfect. He hugged me tight. I knew it would be. You are extraordinary, Eleanor. We went to dinner to celebrate. He told me about his museum project that had just been inaugurated. I told him every detail of my presentation. It was easy talking to him, natural, comfortable, and for the first time in years, I allowed myself to imagine a future with someone, not with desperation or need, but with a genuine desire to share my life with someone who valued me. 2 weeks later, I received an unexpected call. It was Liam. Mom, can we meet? There is something I need to show you. I hesitated. But something in his voice sounded different, more mature, more humble. Okay, I finally accepted. Tomorrow, at 3 in the park near my house. I arrived at the park 15 minutes early. I sat on a bench under a leafy tree. I saw children playing, couples walking. Simple and beautiful life. Liam arrived exactly on time. He looked better than last time. Cleaner, more centered. He sat next to me, keeping a respectful distance. Thanks for coming, Mom. He took an envelope out of his backpack. This is for you. I opened it. Inside was a check. $20,000. The exact amount he owed me. I looked at Liam surprised. Where did you get this? I sold my car, he replied. I took a second job on weekends. I have been saving every penny for these 3 months. I know money does not make up for the damage I did to you, but it is a start. Tears burned in my eyes. Not for the money, but for what it represented. Liam was finally taking responsibility. I also started couples therapy, he continued. Even though I am no longer with Harper, my therapist says I need to understand the toxic patterns before I can have any healthy relationship in the future. He looked directly at me. Mom, I spent 3 years being blind. 3 years choosing the comfort of avoiding conflict over doing the right thing. But now I see. I see all the pain I caused. And although I know it will take time, I want to rebuild our relationship, but on your terms, at your pace. I folded the check and put it in my purse. Liam, I appreciate this. Truly. But I need you to understand something. Forgiving you does not mean forgetting. It does not mean going back to who I was before. That Eleanor died the day I was locked up. The new Eleanor has boundaries. She has a voice. And she will never again allow herself to be treated as anything less than valuable. I understand, Liam said. And I respect that. I only ask for a chance to show you I can be the son you deserve. I nodded slowly. We can try. Slowly. But Liam, at the first sign you revert to your old patterns, I walk away. For good. There will be no old patterns, he promised. That I guarantee you. We sat in silence for a moment. It was not awkward. It was healing. Mom, I heard about your project in Miami. $500,000. That is incredible. I smiled. Yes, it is. And it is just the beginning. Julian is already talking about other future projects. Liam smiled too. A genuine smile with no hidden agenda. I always knew you were brilliant. I am sorry it took you losing almost everything for me to remember that. I looked at him. My son. My only son. Damaged but trying to heal. We all make mistakes. Liam, the important thing is to learn from them. We said goodbye with a brief hug. Nothing dramatic. Just a small step toward reconciliation. As I walked back to my apartment, my phone rang. It was Margaret. Eleanor, how are you? Good, I replied. I just saw Liam. He paid me back the money. Margaret fell silent for a second. Wow, he is really changing. It seems so, I admitted. And Harper? Margaret sighed. She moved to Seattle. Got a job at a small firm. I think she is finally facing her own demons. We have not spoken much, but I know she is also in therapy. I am happy for her, I said sincerely. We all deserve a chance to change. You are an incredible woman, Eleanor, said Margaret, more generous than I could be. It is not generosity, I replied. It is liberation. Letting go of the poison so it does not poison me. We said goodbye with plans to meet for coffee next week. That night I sat on my balcony with a glass of wine. I looked at the illuminated city. 6 months had passed since that terrible day Harper locked me in. 6 months in which my life had completely transformed. It was a Saturday afternoon, and I was in my apartment packing my bags. Tomorrow, I would travel to London. Julian had invited me there to discuss a new project, a sustainable corporate building in the heart of the city, $200,000 additional. My career had not only recovered, it was flourishing like never before. While I folded my clothes carefully, the doorbell rang. It was Arthur. We had been seeing each other regularly for 6 months, and our relationship had evolved naturally. We were no longer just friends. We were a couple. A mature couple, no drama, no games, just mutual respect and genuine affection. Ready for the big adventure? He asked, entering with a smile. He had offered to drive me to the airport early tomorrow. Almost, I replied. I still do not know what to wear for the meeting with the British Architectural Committee. Arthur came over and hugged me from behind while I looked at my wardrobe options. Whatever you choose, you will be perfect. You always are. His words filled me with warmth. After years of subtle criticism from Harper and neglect from Liam, having someone who valued me unconditionally was a gift I never took for granted. We chose an ivory-tailored suit together. Elegant but powerful. Exactly what I needed. We had dinner together that night in my apartment. I made pasta with seafood, fresh salad, and white wine. Simple but delicious food. Eleanor, Arthur said after dinner, taking my hand across the table. I have been thinking. I know you are going to London for 2 weeks, and when you come back, I would like you to consider something. My heart raced. What is it? Moving in together, he said with a soft but firm voice. We do not have to get married. We do not have to rush. But I enjoy every moment with you and hate the nights we are not together. I want to wake up next to you. I want to build a life with you. If you want, of course. Tears filled my eyes. Tears of happiness. Arthur, I would love that. But I need to finish this project in Miami first. I need to establish my independence completely before sharing my life with someone. Can you wait 6 more months? He smiled. I would wait 6 years, if necessary, but I am glad it is only 6 months. The next morning, Arthur drove me to the airport as promised. We said goodbye with a long, tender kiss. Take care, he whispered, and remember how extraordinary you are. The flight to London was long but comfortable. I was traveling business class, courtesy of Julian. As the plane soared over the Atlantic, I reflected on everything that had changed. 6 months ago, I was a broken woman, trapped, invisible. Now I was a respected architect, traveling internationally to close million-dollar contracts. I had a wonderful man waiting for me at home. I had a healing relationship with my son. I had my dignity restored. And most importantly, I had myself. I had recovered Eleanor. The true Eleanor. The one I should never have lost. London welcomed me with gray but beautiful skies. Julian was waiting for me at the airport with his assistant. Eleanor, welcome to the UK. He hugged me warmly. I am excited to show you the city and the project. The following days were intense. Meetings with British architects, visits to the proposed construction site, presentations to committees, and in every meeting, I shined. My ideas were innovative. My designs were impeccable. My presence was commanding. I was no longer the insecure woman who allowed herself to be trampled. I was a professional at the peak of her career. One night, Julian invited me to dinner at a restaurant overlooking the Thames. Eleanor, I want to make you a proposal, he said while we drank exquisite wine. The London project is just the beginning. I have contacts all over Europe, France, Italy, Portugal. Everyone is looking for architects with your vision. What are you suggesting? I asked, intrigued. That you become my lead architect for all my European projects. A 5-year contract, $2 million guaranteed, plus bonuses for each successfully completed project. You would travel frequently, but your base would remain in the US. I was breathless. $2 million. 5 years. Absolute financial security. Julian, I do not know what to say. Say yes, he replied with a smile. Say you will finally give yourself the value you always deserved. I did not think much. Yes, definitely yes. We toasted under the London stars. My life had done a complete 180-degree turn, and it was just beginning. The next day, while I walked through the streets of London, my phone rang. It was an unknown US number. I answered cautiously. Eleanor. It was Harper's voice. My body tensed immediately. What do you want, Harper? My voice was cold. I was just calling to tell you something. I have been in intensive therapy for 4 months. And my therapist made me write letters to all the people I hurt. You are first on that list. I waited. I said nothing. I do not expect your forgiveness, she continued. I do not deserve it. I just wanted you to know that I finally understand the damage I caused, and that I am working every day to be a better person. Not for you, not even for Liam, for myself. There was a long silence. Thank you for telling me that, Harper, I replied finally. I wish you the best in your process. Eleanor. Her voice trembled. Yes, I heard about your successes. Europe, the $1 million contracts. I am happy for you, truly. You deserve all that and more. I smiled slightly. Thank you. Take care. Harper. I hung up. I did not feel rage. I did not feel pain. I only felt peace. Harper was part of my past. A painful but necessary part. Without her, maybe I never would have found my strength. I returned to the US a week later loaded with signed contracts, new professional connections, and renewed confidence. Arthur met me at the airport with a huge bouquet of yellow roses. I missed you, he said, hugging me tight. Me too, I whispered into his neck. That night I told him about Julian's proposal. His eyes lit up. Eleanor, that is incredible. $2 million. 5 years. You are officially one of the most successful architects in America. In the world. I corrected him with a mischievous smile. He laughed. You are right. In the world. We sat on my balcony, the same one where months ago I had cried in despair. Now it was the place where I celebrated my triumph. You know what is the craziest thing about all this? I said, looking at the stars. What? That if Harper hadn't locked me up that day, maybe I never would have found this strength. Maybe I would have remained the compliant woman who allowed herself to be used. Arthur nodded thoughtfully. Sometimes our worst enemies give us the best gifts without knowing it. They force us to wake up. Exactly, I agreed. The following months were a beautiful whirlwind. I traveled to Miami regularly to supervise the project. I traveled to London 2 more times to advance the project there. Liam and I rebuilt our relationship slowly. Monthly dinners. Honest conversations. He was still in therapy and had truly changed. He was no longer the manipulated man I knew. He was someone more conscious, stronger, more authentic. Margaret became one of my best friends. We saw each other weekly for coffee and deep conversations. She too had transformed her life, making peace with her own past. And Arthur. My dear Arthur. 6 months after his proposal, we moved into a beautiful apartment overlooking the city. We did not get married. We did not need a piece of paper to validate what we had. Our relationship was solid, built on mutual respect, admiration, and mature love. A year after that terrible day, I received an invitation, an International Architecture Congress in New York. They had selected me as one of the keynote speakers. The topic, resilience and reinvention in architecture and life. I accepted immediately. The day of my presentation, the auditorium was full. 500 people, architects from all over the world. I walked onto the stage in my champagne-colored suit, high heels, hair perfectly styled. I was no longer the woman trembling with fear. I was the woman who had risen from her ashes. Good morning. I began with a clear and powerful voice. My name is Eleanor Vance, and I want to tell you a story about how the worst day of my life became the best gift I could receive. For 40 minutes I told my story, the confinement, the despair, the escape, the triumph. I omitted nothing. I sugarcoated nothing. It was raw. It was honest. It was real. When I finished, the silence in the auditorium was absolute. Then, a standing ovation. 500 people applauding, some with tears in their eyes. After the presentation, dozens of people sought me out, mostly women, telling me their own stories of abuse, manipulation, resurgence. You inspired me, they told me over and over. You gave me hope. And in that moment, I understood something profound. My pain had not been in vain. My fight had not been just for me. It was for all the women who needed to see that it was possible to get up, that it was possible to rebuild, that it was never too late to reclaim your life. That night, in my hotel room in New York, I stood in front of the mirror. The woman staring back was unrecognizable compared to the one from a year ago. Her eyes were bright, her posture erect, a genuine smile of satisfaction. You did it, Eleanor, I whispered to myself. You really did it. My phone vibrated. It was a text from Arthur. I watched you on the live stream of your presentation. I am so proud of you. I love you. I smiled. I replied, I love you too. See you soon. I looked out the window. New York City shone in the night. Beautiful, full of possibilities. Exactly like my life now. I had gone from being a prisoner to being free. From invisible to unforgettable. from broken to unstoppable. And all because one day I decided I deserved more, that I deserved everything. And I fought for it with every fiber of my being. Never again would I be anyone's prisoner. Never again would I allow myself to be less than extraordinary. Because finally, after 63 years, I had learned the most important lesson. The only approval I needed was my own.